Welcome back to Eurosport Live here at Le Mans. Evening fast approaching. Well, evening's here, of course, but dusk will be approaching us soon. 10 o'clock it'll start to get dark here, and then there'll be that sort of gloaming for an hour or so before it gets really dark. The shortest night of the year in motor racing, and as we go into lap 87 under safety car still. Good news coming from the medical centre at the circuit that Anthony Davidson, who had a huge crash in the number 8 Toyota, is in the medical centre. They're not going to take him to hospital. There's no injury, but he's obviously...
Well, we don't know yet. All they've said,
said
all they know is that he's conscious and he is speaking.
Right, but there's...
They do not know yet if he has any other injuries, but at the moment they're not sending him.
Yep.
And I think we're going to actually see that crash again in a minute for you. If you haven't seen it yet, you better be sitting down.
And Jeremy Shaw's back with us, so thank you.
Yeah, good to be back.
Yeah,
it was a shame that anything happened, because the race really was heating up in all sorts of ways.
So we're still under safety car, and this is going to go on for a long time while they rebuild the barriers. We're just having a look back at what happened. It was one of those incidents going into Mulsanne corner with a huge impact for both cars, and the Ferrari, Jeremy, finishing on its roof.
Yeah, I mean, and both cars there hit the barriers at an enormous speed. I mean, the Toyota scrubbed off hardly any speed at all. It scrubbed off some speed, so the aerodynamic drag of flying upside down. But then, you know, look at this again. You can see the Ferrari just turns in. Davidson committed to the corner, and it would have taken Anthony Davidson completely by surprise.
Yeah, and you can imagine, you can understand the anguish of the crews there. This is their baby, this car, under Pascal Vasseron.
And just amazing that, I mean, literally moments he was after the sister car of Nicolas Lapierre at the time had taken the lead from the number 1 Audi. Absolutely amazing happenings here at Le Mans.
And I think we're about to have an interview actually from the Ferrari driver, Perezzini, and hopefully he can shed some light on his side. And we're going to head down to the pits now to speak with him. I really hope we can get a few more answers from his side of the story.
Crash, it seems to be okay. Did you already spoke with Anthony?
No, I don't spoke with Anthony because he was in the car, and I went in box with the ambulance. But I think he stay well. It's a crash, incredible, because I think that he was trying to overtake me, but it was very fast, and I was in my directory. I think it's an accident of the race. I cannot think that it's a responsibility mine or of him.
You didn't see him on your mirror.
Please?
You didn't see him before.
Yes, I saw, but it's impossible to know the distance in the rear. I saw, but I wasn't near to the corner. It was impossible to break to overtake in this point.
Thank you.
Well,
To differ, I guess, do we?
no, I mean, my feeling is that he's an inexperienced driver with Le Mans, and he made a mistake. That's what I think. Honestly, everyone can agree with me or not. I've been a driver in both that class and also in the LMP class, and when you see a car coming that fast and you're entering that corner, it isn't that hard to just lift a little and let them get past you. And there was more than enough room for him to let him get by if he just lifted and slowed down a bit more. I feel he made a mistake and he misjudged how fast the car was coming.
Giuseppe, he may be an AM driver, but he's not a rookie. And he was last year's LMS GT vice champion, and of course he won the Dubai 12 hours this year. Was second in it last year, so he's had a lot of experience.
He's been here twice before.
Yep.
So a huge amount of experience really, and not the sort of action you expect him to be involved in.
Has he been here with the recently?
Yeah,
not the last 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my fault then, but I still feel it was his fault. I really do.
He was away, of course, last year, and he was with Racing Box Lola job the year before. The other sad thing about this, Matt Griffin, of course, is now out of a drive.
Which is a real shame, because Matt is first Le Mans here, and such an experienced, talented driver. He was so excited to do Le Mans. It really is a shame.
And so too is Nicky Kadai, who, of course, won the GT Open last year, had a massive win there, and really quick Ferrari driver. I think we'll see a lot more of Nicky Kadai.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very surprised by that. If he's to be a more experienced Le Mans driver, very surprised.
Rob Leuven, give us the news. How is Anthony doing?
It's okay. We say he's brought into the medical center. He can walk, he can talk. He will be brought to the hospital for further checks, but we are happy that no severe injuries at the present moment. We can say his brother is with him, so we think everything will come out fine.
What happened to him when he was on the car? Do you know? When he was lying on the side of the car?
Yes, he was complaining about some pain in his back. So for security reasons or safety reasons, they put him just on the floor so that no movements could do more harm in case there were any. So at the present moment, it seems to be under control, and thank God, we're happy.
Thank you very much.
John Litchens, I think, the project leader, is it not?
Rob Lupin.
Was it Rob? Yeah. Is it? Okay.
And again, like we saw last year, a real testament to the design of these cars. So I applaud Toyota for building something that has looked after their driver and kept him safe in such a horrific accident.
I agree. That was a very, very heavy impact, a huge speed. He would have been going flat out through that kink, and like I say, it scrubbed off very little speed. He probably hit the barriers at 170 radio miles an hour.
I'd be interested to see the G traces on that. It must have been spectacular.
And straight into, wasn't it?
Let's just give some shout for all the ACO workers here. They're doing a great job today. They did a big job this morning rebuilding barriers down at the Mulsanne kink, and they're having to rebuild them at Mulsanne.
And this race doesn't run without them, really.
Exactly.
It's not possible.
And of course, all the marshals, who everyone reminds us come from all over the world, a huge number here from Britain. A lot from France, Germany, America, they come over. I mean, it's a race everyone wants to go to. And over the years, it's sort of worked out, hasn't it, that you've got little cliques where the same marshals from the same country go year after year now.
Yeah, and I know a couple of them that go to everything, and I've become quite good friends with them. I've got a Dutch marshal that comes to see me at loads of different races, and he always works Le Mans and works Petit Le Mans. He absolutely loves it. He helped me out at Spa many years ago in the 24-hour in the early hours of the morning, and he still is out. You know, he's got his friends there, and I just think it's amazing, and I so respect what they do, and truly the sport doesn't work without them, and I love that most of the drivers take a minute to thank them as well. And please, you know, remember, any of you out there that are racing, when you finish your race, make sure you give them all a wave, because they work really hard.
Yeah, absolutely right. And we couldn't do it without them, as you say. So, still under the safety car period, Marcel Fassler leading one of those three chains from Kenjo Nakajima, Dindo Capello in fourth, Ollie Jarvis in fifth, and Nico Prost, best of the privateer petrol runners, there in fifth place. We've got another guest of us, Jeremy.
Yeah, indeed. Mark Gallagher has joined us from the Status Grand Prix. Mark has been around this sport a long time from all sorts of different angles. Last couple of years you were at Cosworth for a little while lately, and now concentrating pretty much full time, I presume, Mark, on Status Grand Prix.
Well, actually, we founded the team in 2005 when as you probably remember, I was at Jordan Grand Prix for many years, 10 years at Jordan, and we started the team in 2005. We did A1 GP for 4 seasons. We won the A1 GP championship in 2009, but we've always had a hankering after sports car racing, and with my partners being David Kennedy, of course, very well known to sports car fans from his long history here at Le Mans with Mazda, and indeed our other partner, Teddy Yip Jr. It was kind of a no-brainer that we decided to move the team up into LMP sports car racing this year, and we're enjoying it.
And there's a long-term plan here, Mark. I mean, you're running the one car now. You're running in the full European Series season over here, and then long-term?
Well, long-term, we would like to compete in the World Endurance Championship, and that's really what created the interest from us during the winter. We saw the World Endurance Championship coming along. We were very interested to compete at world level. That's really what appealed about A1 GP when we competed in it. We like competing in world championships, and really decided therefore to start off slowly with the European Le Mans Series, and then we were given a late entry to the Le Mans 24 Hours, and we find ourselves here this weekend, and it's what a terrific experience for the team. We're really enjoying it.
His first time here for Teddy Jr. as well. He's been to every other major race in the world, but never been here before.
No, he hasn't been here before, and very keen to see how the team does this weekend. Enjoying it so far.
Speaking with Mark Gallagher of Status Grand Prix, we'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to Eurosport. Jeremy Shaw with Mark Cole, and joined by Mark Gallagher from Status Grand Prix. The repairs are still underway at Mulsanne Corner. We're hearing that the estimated time that we can go back to green flag racing is about 9:15 local time, so that's about 25 minutes from now. We've been under a red flag or under caution for a best part of an hour. I think it probably is now. It's a bit before 8 o'clock when the accident happened. Very scary incident it was indeed, but good to know that Anthony Davidson is okay. The car, however, is not. Back with Mark Gallagher. Mark, Stas Grand Prix, you're running here in the LMP2 class, of course, also running in GP3. Any other strings to add to the bow over in the upcoming seasons?
Not yet. That's, I think, quite enough competing in single-seaters. And we had a good run in GP3 2 weeks ago in Monaco. We won the support race there, which was a good experience. So nice to come from Monaco here to such an iconic event like Le Mans 24 Hours. And, you know, so far for us this weekend, Romain Iannetta, who's currently driving the car, of course, has raced here before. Our two other drivers, Jelmer Berman from Holland and Alexander Sims, this is the first time for them in Le Mans, so a big learning experience for them, but very capable drivers, very quick, very fast indeed, and you know, we're hopeful of a good run so long as we can have the reliability.
I think was it a puncture or something in the very early stages of the race?
Jelmer Berman started the race for us, and he pitted after 15 minutes, a very early unscheduled pit stop, and really he was reporting pickup on the rear tires. It looked like possibly a slow puncture, but actually when we got the car back, really we could see it was a tire pressure issue, and it was getting the tires up to temperature, and I think that was, you know, it's possibly an indication of a little bit of an experience on our team side for whatever reason, but as soon as he got on to a fresh set of tires, the times came tumbling down, and he then triple stinted before handing over to Alexander Sims. So, you know, the guys have been doing good times. Unfortunately, we had dropped a little bit behind, but you know, we're kind of up into the top 20 now in the front half of the LMP2 field.
Yeah, I think you're running 11th in the class right now. You've fallen back to 15th or 16th before, but it is so competitive, this class. I mean, there is nothing to choose between probably at least a dozen cars, Mark.
No, that's right. It's one of the things that really struck us during practice and qualifying here was just how close the field really is. Very competitive indeed, with of course different chassis, different engine combinations. We're running the Judd engine, which is of course based on the BMW M3 engine, and but very close indeed, very competitive, and it really does show that you know, for endurance racing at this level, literally, you know, it's split seconds.
You've got this €330,000 price cap. You had the choice between a Rayca Nissan, Lola Judd. Why did you go for the Lola?
Well, we went for the Lola for lots of reasons. We'd had a long-standing relationship with Lola as a company, and did good personal relationships there. And of course, we now know Lola having troubles in recent months, but we knew that the Lola Coupe LMP1 car had a lot of aero development on it. We knew that aero development had also been utilized in the Coscap LMP2 car. Effectively, they share a lot of common components. So aerodynamically, it was a good car. And in the opening round of the European Le Mans Series, we were very quick. We qualified on the front row of the grid. The car was very quick in a straight line. Unfortunately, we're not seeing that here this weekend at Le Mans. And that's one of the things that's causing us a little bit of head scratching.
Yeah, but there's not much to choose, is there, between so many cars here? And Alexander Sims, his first time in a sports car. Jelmer Berman's done a fair bit of GT racing, but for Alexander, this is something completely different.
Yeah, well, as you say, Jelmer Berman, in fact, took the lead in the GT World Championship last Sunday, so he's a very happy guy coming here. I think Alexander, you know, what's great about this weekend is today we spoke to Alexander on the grid just before the start of the race, and he was asked by somebody, you know, as a young guy in his early 20s who was previously on a single-seater kind of career, he'd raced for us in GP3, coming into endurance racing in a sports prototype. He was asked what he thought of it. He said he just cannot believe how wonderful it is to drive. The cars are great to drive. He cannot believe the atmosphere here in Le Mans this weekend. He'd never been here before. And, you know, I think this is, you know, it's a great advertisement for endurance sports car racing when these young drivers come in and really find what a great challenge it is.
I think that's a great point. You know, people like Brendan Hartley as well. You know, he's doing the same sort of thing. He's only 22, I think.
And I heard you talking about, you know, the sad event there this evening with Matt Griven no longer able to compete. You know, drivers like Matt Griven as well coming into GT racing, competing here. There's a bunch of new talent, and realizing there's a big future for sports car racing, well, as there always has been. But I think particularly at the moment, there's a lot of single-seater categories are difficult to raise finance for. I have to say, we as a team are finding endurance sports car racing very appealing to drivers. Lots of drivers wanting to come into it.
40 rookies here out of 100. 56 drivers.
Normal.
Yeah,
It's
but you know, it shows it's not falling off. That's what I was going to say. It's so. One thing, Mark, I have to say, we've had a sort of straw poll in the cabin, and your car is certainly in the running for the best-looking car here this year. I mean, it's stunning. The other thing that catches our eye is the number of sponsors we've got. Schweppes is the most noticeable to us because you've taken advantage of this dorsal fin and you've slapped the sticker on that. Yeah, well, my background being marketing at Jordan for 10 years, I have a pretty good eye for what looks good in a car. But actually, it's a very serious point. You know, as an independent racing team, we have to work very hard to get our sponsorship dollars. I have to say, when I saw Dumas ripping the front of that Audi tonight, I was counting the cost in my head and thinking, I hope Alexander Sims is never doing that to my car. But just don't let him see the film. Exactly. But you know, as an independent team, you know, we've got to look at categories of racing which are appealing to sponsors. And I have to say, our sponsors this weekend, I mean, look at it, beautiful evening here in Le Mans, great race, and you know, our sponsors feel privileged to be at an event like this, and that's something special about Le Mans. Excellent. And I think the other thing we need to ask you about, we've mentioned about Lola and its problems. Hopefully the company is going to survive, but are you okay for Spurs for the rest of the season? That's the... Well, you know, they say every cloud has a silver lining. The cloud that we had at Spa, at the World Championship race at Spa, when Alexander Sims had that big accident, the silver lining to that was we then kind of really got up to speed with all the spares that we could get our hands on. In fact, we kind of overcompensated for the accident in Spa. And then, of course, when Lola had some problems, you know, that was fortuitous for us. So we're carrying plenty of spares here, and indeed, you know, we're confident for the rest of the season. We just saw the number 8 shutters being pulled down on the Toyota garage. Mark, let's hope your shutters stay open until at least 3:15 on Sunday. Yeah, we sincerely hope so. I mean, and I have to say again, you know, Anthony Davidson, someone that I know from Formula One days, and you know, tragic to see that, because Toyota have really been the surprise this weekend. I think all the teams in the pit lane have been enjoying seeing Toyota battling with Audi to that extent, and Anthony Davidson particularly, you know, what a great job he did in qualifying. What more can one say?
Exactly, not a lot.
Mark Gallagher, thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you.
Status have been the class of the field, and let's hope you do really well. We'd like to see both the Irish teams do well, of course. Thank you very much. So, still under safety car, and as Jeremy told us a few minutes ago, probably about another 15 minutes to go. Team manager car 81 to report immediately. Oh dear, 81 is the Ferrari that was involved in that accident.
Indeed, and there was another summons to see the race control about an hour and a half ago, maybe now. It was the team manager of the Toyotas to go to race control. Do you remember seeing that?
No, I wasn't on air then.
Okay, so. Fine. It cropped up on the screen, and it took a long time to figure out exactly what it was. But what it turned out to be was the guy holding the signalling board over the pit wall was apparently doing it for too long a period.
That's a first at Le Mans.
Nothing to do with the accident. I mean, but the most bizarre...
No, it's way before the accident.
The most bizarre one we'd had, of course, was on Thursday night, where Sergei Arrow was in the dome, no frontal back on it, down at Porsche Curve, still sitting in the car, and the thing was saying, driver to report immediately to race director. So we're going to a commercial break in a minute. Not a lot to talk about, is there, Chris?
No, I think, yeah, you can see the drivers are just trying to warm their tyres up and keep them going, because we should be restarting this race hopefully in about the next 15 minutes, but have to make sure that everything has been repaired appropriately.
And it's going to be again a dash for cash, isn't it? I mean, it's just been so pushy this year.
That's right. We've still got the Audi ahead of the Toyota as a result of those pit stops. We'll be going green again in just about 12 minutes, we reckon. Welcome back to Eurosport, still under full course caution. Sun is still got a little bit of daylight left. We've probably got at least probably an hour of daylight now. It's been an absolutely gorgeous evening. It was raining this morning, very heavy rain for part of the warm-up, but it stopped about 11 o'clock this morning probably finally, and then since then the track has been drying. It was almost completely dry for the start, and since then the weather's just been getting nicer and nicer and nicer. Jeremy Shaw here with you with Mark Cole, and joined by Johnny Molan for the first time during this race. Johnny, great to see you back here. Sorry you're not in a racing car, but second best thing, good to be here.
Absolutely, lovely to be here, and I'm just looking out there now with the weather the way it is at the moment. Yeah, lovely to be here. I think my mic wasn't live there, was it? And just looking out at the blue sky and the Ferris wheel turning, and you know what? It makes me really want to be out there more than ever. I thought if I kept myself busy, then I wouldn't miss it too much. But right now, I'm obviously hoping that Anthony Davidson is absolutely fine. I was a bit concerned when I saw that, and I think that throws out the window at the risk of being superly controversial. All of this thing about having that fin on the back and stopping the cars getting airborne. I think in that particular instance, having the fin on the back got him airborne. So that needs to be re-looked at. But hopefully he's all right and he's going to be fine. And it's a shame because he was going so well at the time, and the Toyotas have impressed me in this race up until now in a mightily.
Well, of course, the FIA Technical Commission will again be taking a long, hard look at that, because the other thing they did was made these big holes on top of the wings now to lessen the chance of it even further. And Jolly was not impressed by that.
Well, I just think, I mean, he was airborne almost as soon as he got sideways, and you know, and that is what he was supposed to stop. And it didn't, so you know there's no point in having those things there. And in that particular instance, the top of the car was slowing quicker than the bottom of the car, which actually would have flipped him up even more. But what do I know? I'm not an aerodynamicist, but the important thing is it appears that he's going to be okay. But it was a real big hit, wasn't it, Jeremy?
It was indeed, Johnny. And you know, we talked about what Liz and I thought about what happened there. You know, why the incident occurred. We actually heard from Giuseppe Perezzini. We heard his take on it, and he just seemed to think that it wasn't the place for Rossi to overtake. But what was your take on that?
Well, I'm probably going to get shot for this. I had a very strong opinion last year with the Kaufman-Rockenfeller accident, and this one hopefully isn't quite as huge as that. I'm glad that actually that the GT Perezzini was okay, because he also took one heck of a hit.
Wow.
And he actually stopped more quickly than did the Toyota. But in that particular instance, I'll just tell you, having raced here in LMP and GT, I have been overtaken down the inside into Mulsanne a million times by LMP cars. They're flashing their lights, they're coming. That particular area of the track, they are incredibly quick. To go in there absolutely on the limit in a GT car, you do need to take a diagonal line. Having said that, if you breathe out the throttle a little bit early, you can take a wider line into there that gives them the perfect opportunity, because you're going out wide after you've apexed anyway. You just miss the first apex, you probably lose 2 tenths. It allows the P cars to get down underneath you. I think you're seeing that most of the incidents that happen very rarely happen between a GT Pro driver and an LMP Pro driver, and I'll leave it at that. That's not to say that the amateurs have any less right to be out there than the pros or anything like that, but that's basically my take on that particular instance.
It's the same take Liz gave us, of course, Jeremy, as another driver.
Yeah, indeed. And the interesting thing, though, Johnny, is that Perezzini, he's been around the sport a fair amount of time. He's done a lot of racing in GT cars, and he's been here to Le Mans twice before as well, so it's not as if he's a complete rookie.
No, absolutely not. But I think until you've driven a P car and a GT car, you don't actually appreciate, you know, and the same, I must admit, I saw Martin Brundle earlier on getting very irate in car with a lot of GT drivers, and I think at the same point for him, I mean, there's times that he expected the GT car to sort of vanish in the Porsche curves or whatever, and Martin Brundle, fantastic driver, but I remember when Johnny Herbert first came into prototypes, and he used to pull out in front of the GT cars going into the braking zone and brake and expect us to not be there, and then when we hit him at the back, he was wondering what was going on, and then Johnny got his head round it and became a fantastic, superb sports car driver. So I agree with you, everyone's got to work together. Just in that particular instance, you see a Toyota coming, flashing his lights, you can almost deem from the way the lights are flashing that he's on a mission, and you know that when if an Audi or a Toyota, they're going to be on a mission, and you need to breathe there because you know he's coming underneath you.
And the one distinction about this incident and the one last year with Mike Rockenfeller is the fact that that one was at night time, in the middle of the night. This one, it was in perfect daylight. So the problem at night time, if you're in a GT car, you see the lights flashing on the prototype behind you, but you don't. It's very difficult to tell how far the prototype is behind you. In daytime, however, you should have no problem with, as Mario Andretti would put it, the depth perception.
Well, I agree with you to an extent, but having said that, I wouldn't make Perezzini as at fault as I would Kaufman, for the simple reason that in that particular corner, he took his right line through that corner, and it would have cost him time to move over and give Anthony Davidson room. He chose not to, and he paid the penalty. I suspect you'll never see him make that mistake again. But at the same time, I can see why he was thinking what he was thinking, and he was hoping that Anthony would wait and then dive down on the right, and Anthony was expecting him to give him room. So I wouldn't say that that was a 50-50, but I certainly wouldn't say it was 100% his fault either. But in the case of Kaufmann, he's got lights flashing behind him a long way, and he can go flat out through that kink on the left-hand side, the right-hand side, the middle, whatever. It doesn't cost him any time whatsoever, and he chooses to take a diagonal line and take an apex through the corner. And if he had any lights flashing at all, he should have just taken a wide line through the corner. So I don't want to get on a bandwagon.
No.
But,
well, Johnny, you're here with us for the next 6 hours now. Although you've arrived,
I've been more tired than when I'm driving the race, aren't I?
You've come here obviously wearing your Lotus branding because you're here also working with Lotus. You had a great race with them last year here. Let's just touch on something without being political. This morning, Cadewar Racing, which is the Collis family team in Germany, they announced that Lotus LMP2, which I believe is their brand, are going to develop their own LMP2 kart for next year, and there's a beautiful picture of it in the press release. How much can you tell us about this?
It's difficult really to talk about it too much because I don't actually genuinely know a massive amount about it. I know Colin Collis has done a phenomenal job this year, and his team looks, you know, beautiful in the black and gold. I believe they have the naming rights for Lotus, but I'm not privy to any of the contracts. And I know that he wants to build an LMP2 and ultimately go LMP1. And when I first joined Lotus, they told me that that was their plan. I've been a Lotus factory driver for 3 years now, and they told me that ultimately they wanted to go LMP2, LMP1. I think what's complicated the situation, without speaking out of turn, is obviously the situation with obviously Proton being bought, and so Lotus effectively have new owners, so I think that's complicated things slightly.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we've got other branded Lotus cars here, the Rebellion cars this weekend. Again, that's purely a branding exercise, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, most of this is naming and branding rights rather than engineering. Having said that, James Key, who's now at Lotus working with me on the GTE project, is involved with this LMP2, and obviously his reputation speaks for itself.
And I think the thing that stands out from the announcement is, of course, LMP2 cannot have factory teams, so it can be a factory supported team, but it can't be a full-on factory team.
Well, I think it's more they're building the cars and they're going to sell it to customers, as is the want of the LMP2, and that's how it has to be done. I don't think he's looking to run a factory team.
And that is incredible news, isn't it, for LMP2? Really, really something exciting for the future. We've just caught up with Alan McNish. We're going to have a quick word with him about what he's seen going on.
Alan McNish, when you see the accident of Anthony Davidson, that's a reminder of what happened as well last year.
Yeah, the first thing is I hope he's okay, and also the driver of the Ferrari as well, because there was a huge accident. You know, there you're nearly 200 miles per hour, 320 kilometers per hour as you brake, and we never like to see something like that. You know, fellow competitors, even if we're fighting for the race, you know, they're still fellow competitors. It was a big shock to see it, and like I say, my thoughts at the moment are just with the drivers.
What we hear is Anthony Davidson, he walks, he talks, and he's on the way to the hospital for further checks, but the team said he's okay. Is that something we can't avoid in Le Mans?
I think you never avoid accidents. It's the law of averages. If you've got, you know, when you're driving flat out all of the time, and when the difference between winning and losing is so little that you do have to push. And with a race of 24 hours, the amount of cars you overtake, then, like I say, the law of averages suggests that one or two of them will go wrong. You know, the ACO and the FIA were very strong last year in their understanding of why things happen, and to try to improve them for the future. And I'm sure that that discussion continues.
A question to your car. You had some trouble in the beginning. What's the plan for now? When are you going back in the car?
I should be back in the car. Well, it depends how long this full course yellow lasts. But normally another 2 stints for Dindo, and then I'll be back in the car.
Okay, thank you very much.
And Alan, presumably we'll do 3 stinting, maybe even 4 stinting as we go in tonight. That's what they did last year.
Or 5, as in the case of Nicolas Lapierre and the Toyota.
Yeah, quite incredible. Still clearing up the mess there. The barriers have now been rebuilt. Great job by everyone there. Johnny, just while we're talking about LMP2 and the welcome news that there will be Lotus branding again next year, Mazda this morning made the most of yesterday's announcement that diesel engines will be allowed in LMP2 next year, and Mazda have announced a new diesel engine for next year. We're going to a commercial break, but when we come back, we'll just follow that thread. Stay with us on Eurosport. Johnny. You're back with Eurosport. It is now 9:15 in the evening. We are told the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap after a long period while barriers were rebuilt following the accident involving Anthony Davidson in the Toyota and one of the Ferraris. Johnny Molam's with us, and John is going to be for some time. We've got plenty to talk about tonight, but we were just talking about LMP2 in the future. Mazda announcing an LMP2 diesel engine, taking advantage of the new rules for next year.
Absolutely.
Which is going to be built in Florida by Sylvain Tremblay's Speed Source operation, and backed also by Mazda North America, John Doonan,
yes,
their leader. So that is good news as well, isn't it?
It's fantastic. I mean, it's good for sports cars in general, isn't it? And I was talking to John Doonan yesterday before the announcement, because obviously when you mentioned this yesterday, and you mentioned I obviously knew at that point, and had a good chat with John, and I saw him again today, and obviously it's exciting for sports cars in general that they're keeping things moving, and Nissan are obviously having a big presence here at Le Mans with the Delta Wing, and Toyota are back, and now Mazda. It's exciting.
And you've got the Honda HPDs running, but probably just as importantly, Honda's European operations manager told me 3 weeks ago that they are looking to return as a factory in 2013 into the World Endurance Championship. So we should watch that one.
I think sports cars is on the up, Mark, I think.
It is indeed. Now, was that, when they say at the end of this lap, does that mean they release all 3 safety cars at the same moment? So we are racing again, are we?
Theoretically, they do. I've actually been here when they first did it, and they didn't quite get it right, and people were racing, and about a minute later we went green.
Well,
and
we're overtaking already, so we're racing.
Absolutely. Now everyone's gone green. You saw it coming past here through the chicane, and everyone's flat out once again. And we're seeing a little bit here of the 2 Audis with the Toyota right behind.
Boxed
so they
in there, yeah.
took the lead.
He's our race leader, so he was released by the safety car that pulls off at Arnage Corner.
Absolutely.
Yep. This is exciting. Sun in their eyes, of course, for much of the track now, and this is going towards what we call happy hour.
And you were just I was just talking about the Delta Wing there, and that is such a shame. I was just about to say,
well, you know,
I mean, that was unnecessary, because that wasn't needed to happen. That was no fault of the Delta Wings whatsoever.
No, he probably gave the other guys too much room, in effect, just trying to be too nice.
Well, I think I was talking to one of the drivers, and he was saying how difficult it is to judge your racing line, because obviously you can't take an apex with the front of the car, because the rear of the car is about 3 foot wider. But there, he was right over on the grass on the right-hand side, giving everyone room. And I think what happened was the prototype actually misjudged and thought he was actually smaller than he actually was, and hit the back of him rather than the front of him.
Well, the prototype was the Nissan, I think. It was Kazuki Nakajima, who's just come into the pits as well, because he was, you know, that was a real mess, and the reason that was a real mess was because the leader was in the middle of the pack, and I really just don't understand why they do that. To me, the race leader should be out at the front of the pack in clean air. It's much easier for everybody to understand, us, the drivers, and most particularly people in the grandstands. What is the point in having the race leader in the middle of the pack at a restart?
Well, Jeremy, you and I are both used to it. Absolutely. And you can see his rear legality panel there. And obviously they think there might be a puncture. He might even have knocked the rear toe link and have some rear toe out there, which he'll soon find out when he goes back out. But they're changing all 4 tyres anyway, because they might as well do it. But you're right, Jeremy. We're back in a situation you and I are used to in America, where they don't let everyone go green until they've got everything sorted out, and it's all to do with the class and overall leaders in succession, one behind the other. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and this is going to be a lengthy stop now for the number 7 car. And what a shame. Poor old Kazuki Nakajima had to wait an awful long time to get into that car. He was all suited up to go out a couple of hours ago now, when Nicolas Lapierre just completed his fourth stint. Nakajima was there, ready to get in the car, and the decision was made to stay out for one more stint. So Kazuki had to wait patiently for that to happen. He's been sitting behind, he's been sitting under pace car since he got into the car, ready to go.
Yeah,
and here he is now back in the pits.
One thing I will say in his defence is that in these cars, and I've been fortunate enough to race with Dyson this year, as you know, Jeremy, in the LMP1, the B12 Lola, and I can honestly say with the tall front tyres and these huge front fenders, once you've got alongside, or even half alongside someone, they vanish. You don't see them. You cannot see them. And so it's quite easy to pull across thinking that you're clear of somebody when you're in actual fact not. And add into that equation the fact that it was the Delta Wing, which is a strange shape anyway, and it wasn't deliberate. I'm sure it was just an accidental touch, and it was just obviously a hard enough hit to damage the rear wing as well, and the rear bodywork, and now they're having a problem getting it on. And I feel for him, because like you rightly say, he's been waiting the whole race to get in and have a go, and now he's got in, and he's going to be feeling dreadful in that car.
Yeah, it's his first ever sports car race, of course, as well, and he's a really impressive young man, I think, is Kazuki Nakajima. He speaks excellent English. He's got a very, very good head on his shoulders. And ironically, of course, his fellow countryman, Satoshi Motoyama.
Motoyama knocked off, yes.
Yeah, really. That's even more unfortunate. I feel really bad for him. There's a big twitch there from one of the P2 cars. Well, actually, it wasn't the P1, it was the Rebellion, car number 13. Now up into 6th place, Harold Primat at the wheel of that car. So we are still under green, which is quite surprising.
The Nissan being pulled behind the wall, and they're going to get it running again. Of course, this is an unknown quantity. What sort of damage do you do when you crash one of these? May have broken its neck.
Well, you're also a lot closer to the edge of the car as a driver. It's a bit like driving a Caterham, isn't it? You're sort of like, you go into the wall, and there's no real deformable structure between you and the wall or whatever it is you're hitting. So that doesn't help either.
So, Jeremy, I'm assuming we're going to see Nakajima hauled up for the stewards, and judging by past years, there's always a possible disqualification, isn't there? It's happened before.
There was nothing.
It was so many cars. He was moving around. There was about 4 cars abreast at that point, and I think it was unfortunate. It was certainly no fault of Delta Wing, and also you can't really blame Nakajima too much, even though he made the contact. I mean, you have to blame him to some extent, of course, if he didn't move, but there was so much going on at that point. Jeremy's right. They were in the middle of a pack trying to negotiate GT cars. If they gave him a penalty, I think that will be quite harsh, but it is unfortunate. I do feel for the Nissan Delta Wing as well.
Would like to see a replay. We haven't actually seen a replay of that incident, have we? But I'm sure we will do soon. But it was through this section of the track here. That was actually the marker from the right-hand side of the track.
It's so quick through there, isn't it, guys? I mean, you're watching those 2 Audis going through the exit of the Porsche curves and the change of direction. I mean, the downforce these boys have got through there now is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, the sad thing, we've just had Darren Cox from Nissan Europe in the booth talking about how pleased they are with the progress the car's making, and then next thing we know, it's been spat out. I noticed that Motoyama's still on board, so he's obviously on the radio to the team asking, what shall I do? And they'll do everything they can to get that car back to the pits under its own power.
Here's a replay here.
There we go.
It's a whole train of cars going around there.
Yeah, he just changed direction, and he was unsighted. He wouldn't have even, he probably didn't even know he was there. He was just trying to change direction. Unfortunate.
Yeah, having said that, Nakajima, he was sort of tucked in behind the Audi that he was following. He did actually jink out to the right.
He made contact, there's no doubt. I mean, he moved to make contact, but he was unaware. It's a bit like Johnny Cocker last year, 2 years ago with Luke Hines. He thought he was clear. In that case, it wasn't a case of him thinking he was clear. He probably didn't even know he was there, because he would have been looking at the Audi. He's got the high fender. He wouldn't have even seen a car, and he wouldn't have expected a car to be over there, to be fair. And the Delta Wing was obviously just trying to keep out of trouble, so it's very unfortunate, but a bit of a racing incident.
What a dramatic Saturday night here at Le Mans. Marcel Fassler still leads, and of course the Nakajima Toyota, the number 7 car, has now dropped out of 2nd place. Dindo Capello has moved into Fillet, and Dindo is just 53 seconds behind our race leader. Could this race be coming back to Alan McNish, Tom Christensen and Capello?
Absolutely right. The other car that there is a quick look at Dindo Capello. He's well, it's 9 o'clock now, isn't it? So he's only how was his age? 47 he is now. In a couple of hours' time, he'll be 48. So it'll be his birthday at midnight.
Why do you journalists always have to bang on about how old drivers are?
No, because I think it's wonderful that he's so competitive still. I mean, he was blindingly quick this morning in the wet.
Yes.
Those are really treacherous conditions out there in the warm-up this morning.
Oh, unbelievable. And this place, especially in the wet, you have to make sure you're going down the middle of the road, and the aquaplaning when it's wet can be awful in the ruts down the straights. And I take my hat off to Dindo. You know, the situation that he's been put in with all these young guys, he's still got Alan and Tom keeping him honest, and yet he's still out there delivering. And I think at Le Mans, as Frank Bieler showed, sometimes if you're losing it in other tracks, for some reason at Le Mans, if you've still got the desire, you can still perform here just through sheer wanting to be out there and wanting to be quick. And Dindo has always been fantastic around this place.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to make the point that he was old. I was trying to make the point that it is his birthday tonight. But here's a look at the GT battle. It's Oliver Gavin who leads now in the number 74 Corvette. That was him just coming out of the bottom of the picture. And
that's been a fantastic battle, hasn't it, Jeremy? I mean, especially the Aston and the Corvette early on, Mucker and Gavin, and then Milner and Turner. Has been brilliant all the way through.
It certainly has.
What happened to the Aston? It's dropped to the bottom of that leading group.
Yeah.
Anything in particular?
I think they must have
they've been pitting about a lap earlier than everybody. In fact, 2 laps earlier than the Ferrari on occasion.
Oh no, 3 or 4.
Oh, was it that many? Yeah. Okay, so
yeah.
that they might find that they're a little bit. I mean, because we're getting well into the race, they might be a little bit out of sequence on the pit stops, and that's why they're that far down.
The other thing, Johnny, that they've Aston, because they're fairly new to the category with this V8 Vantage, are given a brake 25 kilos lighter and a bigger restrictor. So presumably that means they're using a bit more fuel.
Well, the Aston was on pole at Laguna Seca when we were there, and it was absolutely incredible lap from Darren Turner there. But it proves that this car, I mean, coming up behind it compared to all their GT cars, it's a rocket on the straight, and they'll deny that, but it is. and they've been given some assistance, and quite rightly so, and it puts them in the mix. They're not any quicker than any of the others, but it means they can actually fight for the lead, and I think that's what this is all about.
It certainly is. And apparently there was a note made, just looking at some Twitter things here, there was some apparently some suggestion it was a V12 car early on. I don't know what that was. I'm pretty sure I didn't say it. If I did, so it didn't mean it. It was a V8 car. Indeed, the V8 Vantage that we're running in the GTE version here. But whoever it was for that, thanks for pointing that out.
I think
go away.
I think we called it a V12 at one stage during, well, not you, but me.
Okay.
I'm going to put my hand up. I talked about the V8 Detroit Iron against the V12 English Engineering, and of course it's a V8. Very, very confusing. V12s run in the GT3 category, V8 in the GT2 category, which is what this is basically.
A couple of other notes here on Twitter. How do they manage to keep the Audi A4 or R8 SCs the same distance apart around the racetrack during the caution period?
Say that again, sorry, Jeremy.
How do they manage to keep, when there's 3 pace cars on track, how do they manage to keep them equidistant apart during a caution period?
Sat-nav.
Well, they communicate, and also they keep to a certain speed.
Yeah.
That's the theory.
And they have sat-nav, which
doesn't always work, as I've seen firsthand, but theoretically, and they've got pretty good at it, I have to say.
It was an hour-and-a-half caution period, and what we actually saw, Johnny, in front of us on one occasion was one of the Audis peeled off, obviously to go and refuel, and was replaced by another one.
Yes, I saw that. And I was thinking it was really nice for Toyota that he'd actually got in front of the Audi before that incident happened, so at least had the glory of taking the lead at Le Mans and leading for a few laps, albeit behind the pace car.
But the ACO learned that from last year when the safety cars did start to run out of fuel, so they've covered it by having extra safety cars to replace the ones that they might get lower.
Well, last year I was in this race, and each time there was a bad accident, Alan's accident and then Rocky, thank God he was okay. Both of those happened when I was actually out there in the car, and at one point I think I ran behind the safety car for about an hour and a half. I pitted at least 3 or 4 times in that just to top off. So
how does it affect your mindset as a driver?
I tell you what, my bottom started really hurting in the seat. I don't know why that is, but I think it's just the weight of being in it, and when you're not driving, you're not really moving around. I have to say, at the risk of profanities on the thing, my arse was killing me after about an hour. I kept on having to flex it. And
Johnny's a pain in the arse, everyone.
Absolutely, you heard it here first.
So we're going to take a break. You're with Johnny Mowlem, you're with Jeremy Shaw, you're with me, Mark Cole. We've got a long way to go. We're just getting into happy hour, as Johnny calls it now. The sun just starting to go down. Stay with us on your... Welcome back to Le Mans 24 hours. We are here at 9:30 at night, and if you were with us on Thursday night, you'll have heard Johnny Mowlem, our resident driver this evening, talking about the happy hour and the magic hour. Please explain what you mean by that, Johnny.
Well, when I first came into the booth, I was talking to you and Jeremy about this time of day and or evening is the perfect time to be out there. It gets very atmospheric out there. As the sun starts dropping, it starts cooling off. You get more downforce. The engines like it. You gain a bit of power. And it's a nice time to start setting quick lap times without actually making any real extra effort. And so it's a time for me, actually, when I really, really enjoy being out there. And I have to say, once the sun gets a certain sort of height, it starts affecting you into Indianapolis and stuff like that. And then you actually lose a little bit in terms of lap time because you really can't see where you're going. And then once it drops down below the horizon, before it starts getting properly dark, you kind of get a second bite of it. And it's a lovely time to be. I prefer this time than I do first thing in the morning, because then the track, although it's quick, can be a little bit dewy, a little bit greasy sometimes. So for me, I like going into the evening.
Lovely. I mean, happy hour to most of our viewers probably means half-price drinks, doesn't it, or 2 for 1? But
that sounds like a splendid idea. Meanwhile, look at this battle here. This is for 1, 2, 3, 4th place in GT. The Ferrari of Jaime Mello with Antonio Garcia in the Corvette, car number 73 with the red shade binder across the top of the windscreen. Absolutely hammer and tongs, these two are going at it. It's Oliver Gavin who still leads the class for Corvette. Tony Vilander in 2nd place, about a minute and a half behind in car number 51. And then in 3rd place, the Porsche of Wolf Hetzler, number 77 car. That car has been running very much underneath the radar screen all week. In fact, the Porsches, no doubt about it, have basically been struggling for pace. But in the race, they're a lot more competitive. And I think we could probably have thought that they would be more competitive in a race. It certainly was a surprise to see them struggling in the early stages of practice and qualifying.
Yeah, and the other big surprise to us has been how good the Ferraris are on fuel this year. And,
well, yeah, and we got
14 laps, and you've had a couple of tweets, haven't you, about this?
We have, yes. Somebody did ask about that a little while ago. Joshua Milton said, "Hi guys, is there a difference in stints in GTE class linked to performance inefficiencies or fuel tank size?" And Mark Cole has just confirmed that no, they all have the same fuel tank size, 90 litres they carry on board, so it's simply down to the efficiencies. And we've seen right from the start of the race, the Aston Martin, the V8 Vantage has been the least frugal. That was the first car to come into the pits, followed by the Corvettes, and then the Ferraris that managed at least 2, sometimes 3 laps more on a stint. So I know that's one of the things about the direct injection engine on this Ferrari 458. They're working on the fuel consumption right from the very beginning, and early in its life last year it wasn't as efficient as perhaps it was they thought it was going to be, but they worked on it a lot during the winter, and it is now very efficient indeed.
Absolutely, Jeremy. In fact, they did the same. They went through the same process with the 430 and the 360 before it, and that's one thing I've always been impressed with Michelotto and Ferrari. They're always really working hard on the engine aspect side, which is something that Porsche kind of were the first to really do in GT, and sort of come along and constantly be remapping to the conditions, especially if you're in one of the works cars. And then Ferrari have really caught up on that in the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years, and now they're very, very good at making those cars as fuel efficient as possible, whilst obviously minimizing the actual power reduction that comes with that.
Yeah, so we're getting a bit short now on P1 cars, aren't we? Just 7 of them running up front at the moment, which means that Jacques Nicolet in the Morgan Oak Racing Pescarolo Judd, that's a mouthful, isn't it, is now in 8th place overall. And this is getting quite interesting. You remember when Straka finished 6th overall to win LMP2 just a couple of years ago?
Yep, and that number 24 car has been out front for much of the race. It was a number 25 car that led early on with John Martin for ADR Delta in the Nissan-powered Oreca, but the Judd-powered Morgan chassis has been right up at the front. Olivier Pla did a fantastic job to start off the race in that car number 24. He then handed over to Mathieu Lehay, the youngster from Rennes in France, and now the team owner, the veteran Jacques Nicolet, is driving the car right now. He holds the lead, and it's the sister Oak Racing car, another of the Morgans, albeit this one with a Nissan engine, that is running in 2nd place in P2. And the car that is on the screen right now, the number 48 car, the Murphy Prototypes Oreca Nissan, that is Brendan Hartley at the wheel of that car, is on pit lane, but running in 3rd place.
They've been doing brilliantly, haven't they?
Oh, yes.
I haven't actually seen Warren Hughes other than from afar in the pit lane, but I'm very impressed with how well that car's been going, and they've been doing a superb job. They've been right up there. They were up there at Spa as well, and they've in the practice times, and they've been really up there and giving on a hard time, and they're certainly looking like a real sure bet for the podium if they have a clean race, maybe even an LMP2 win.
Sorry, I was going to say, that's the 2nd place car, the pink and black Oak Racing car. And they've just been given, 75's been given a failure to respect track limits. We saw this twice earlier the evening, so
have you seen that before?
I don't know if it was that car particularly, but I haven't been on all the time, but we did see it twice.
That reminds me of a few years ago, they went nuts about track limits. Yeah. I don't know if you remember, but they were saying if you go over the white line, you're going to get a penalty, and the white line's about 12 feet from the apex through the chicane, so there was a big hoo-ha about that, but they seem to have got their head around it. But you must be seriously off track to get one of those now, because I've seen most of these cars, you know, especially coming out, for example, of Mulsanne corner, right over the left-hand side of the curve.
There's been several warnings out there during the race. We've seen them come up on the screen And number 75 car has been given a 30-second stop-and-go penalty for exactly that. In addition, it's given a...
That's car 40, yeah. That really would be a double whammy, wouldn't it, Joe, if you got one for pit lane speeding as well as...
They did just show the speeding one as car 75. I think that's probably a typist error at the other end, because...
Yeah, unless there's two cars, because number 40 car also has got a penalty for speeding on the pit lane. That is Ralph Maketree in the car number 40, which is the race performance Orica Judd.
Yeah, it's a 75 car. It's actually it's Sean Edwards on board at the moment. Guy Edwards' son, of course, another of the family connections guy.
Well, you see, that's a Porsche Super Cup driver for you. See, you know,
respect nothing.
If there's a piece of grass on the inside and some tarmac, miss the tarmac, use the grass, straight line the corner as much as possible, and keep your foot in. That's a good Super Cup drive. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
The number 75 car, though, it had been running very quickly early on. That's the Pro Speed competition entry. Abdulaziz Al Faisal, Brett Curtis from America, and Sean Edwards from the UK. They've obviously had a lengthy stop for something, so they are about 8 laps behind the leader in the GTE amateur class. It's now the number 50 car, once again, as it was last year. The Labra competition Corvette car number 50, Pedro Lamy at the wheel at the moment. He shares that car with Patrick Bornhauser and Julian Canal. So that was the car that won this class 1 year ago, with Bornhauser and Canal at the wheel, and Pedro Lamy, another ex-Peugeot driver, has been drafted in to help them out, and is certainly turning some good laps now.
They're everywhere, aren't they, Jeremy, these ex-Peugeot drivers?
Correction, 2 minute stop-and-go penalty for car number 40 for speeding in the pit lane. Boy.
What's that?
That is ouch. That's half a lap.
It is half a lap, and here is the Peugeot of Kazuki Nakajima. I presume that...
Why is he in so quickly? That's not fuel, because they would have fueled him last time, and I can only assume that when he had that hit, I mean, to knock the rear wing like that, the rear bodywork, maybe he's got a right, like I mentioned, the toe link on the right rear or something.
Jeremy, when the race is over, you're going to write out 100 times there is no Peugeot in the race.
Did I say Peugeot?
It does look like a Peugeot.
Does it really? Gosh.
I think we should have a swear jar. I think we should have a swear jar. You should put 10 euros in every time he says it.
And here is the surviving Peugeot being wheeled back into the garage.
I guess it's probably, I mean, they've emulated the car numbers, the colours, everything, really. I mean,
Hugh de Show.
I actually think he looks a bit like the Dyson car, actually.
It's Dyson colours, of course.
And Guy Smith is actually abusing me on Twitter all the time, so I said I'd give him a shout out. And it's a shame, actually. We were supposed to be here, obviously, him, me and Chris in the Dyson car. There were very good reasons why we didn't come, but I know the guys at home watching this and listening to us, and I'm sure he'd absolutely want to be out there as well.
Yeah, but I mean, the bizarre thing about this, Hugh de Schoenack, who's a racer and ran the Peugeot last year, the Matt Raker Peugeot, which is probably the most gaudily coloured car I've ever seen at Le Mans. But when they launched the programme, all the posters, cars, red and white, Toyota's factory colours. They get to the test day with a wry grin. Hugh de Schoenack said, I like the colour blue, so we changed it.
And there's some Matmut sponsorship there as well.
Yeah,
fairly small, but
it's sponsor driven, of course. That's why it is. Yep, Denso red, Matmut blue.
But what a shame! I hadn't been monitoring, unfortunately, Kazuki Nakajima's lap times aboard that car number 7 since that incident. My bad there. But clearly, I think we can assume that he's not been happy with it, because he's brought the car into the pits and taken back into the garage.
Yes, the front end they're working on. They've replaced the tail, as you said, with the legality panel. This is the front end they're working on. So, but it's the other side of the car from which you hit the Delta with.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's damaged the floor or something. Shame, though. So it's still Marcel Faisler who leads now in car number 1. A lead of about 2 minutes over Dindo Capello in car number 2. Oliver Jarvis, who's been turning some quick laps of late. Fastest, easily fastest last time around. He did a 3 minutes 30.5 in car number 4. It's, excuse me, 1 lap down to the 2 e-tron Quattro cars in the best place of the R18 Ultras. Number 4, then Kazuki Nakajima still in the Toyota, is in 4th place, now about to lose another lap. And a lap farther back from him, actually it's 2 laps down also, is Nicolas Prost, who is at the wheel of car number 12 for Rebellion Racing. That is the Lola chassis in car number 12, and then behind him is Peter Dumbreck in the HBD, and then the second of the Rebellion Lola Toyotas is in 7th place with Harold Freeman at the wheel, car number 13. 8th place overall is Jacques Nicolet in the leading Morgan Judd. He has completed 94 laps to the leader's 99, and closing rapidly behind him at a rate of about 5 seconds a lap is David Heinemeier Hansen in car number 35, the sister Oak Racing Morgan, as we said a little while ago, with a Nissan engine.
So the nice view of the 66 car. That's the Roger Wills Ferrari there. Roger enjoying.
Looked like James Walker getting in, actually. I think it was James getting into the car. So Roger, I saw Roger last night. They had a few braking issues, but it looked like he enjoyed himself out there.
But finished second this morning, of course, in his Lancia, Martini Lancia, in the Group C Legends race, and the only driver here this year doing 2 races. That's something, isn't it? We're going for a break. Jeremy Shaw, Johnny Mole, and myself, Mark Cole, will be back after these.
Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage of the 80th 24 Hours of Le Mans. Jeremy Shaw, alongside me is Mark Cole and Johnny Molan, and we've just received a statement from Toyota Racing about Anthony Davidson's condition. It reads, Anthony Davidson was taken to the Circuit Medical Centre following his accident. Doctors at the circuit have confirmed that Anthony is suffering from shock and back pain. However, there are no signs of any injuries, and he's walking and talking with no problems. He will be taken to a local hospital for precautionary checks, but the team is relieved and happy to hear he's okay. Further updates will follow in due course.
And I think, yeah, and I've got some more news on Delta Wing as well. Apparently Phil Barker from Ray Mallock Racing, they're running the car, is on his way out to the Porsche curves together with a translator to meet up with Toshio Motoyama to see if there's any way the Japanese driver can get the car moving again. The bad news, though, is the damage is understood to be fairly extensive. So,
it's a shame. Here is our race leader onto pit lane, also the 3rd place car, Oliver Jarvis there right behind him. He must have lapped him just before then, in that case, because...
Yep, 2 cars of a common platform, but completely different ways of delivering the power. One of them, the hybrid, 4-wheel drive, 7 times a lap. The other one, Ollie Jarvis's car, this beautiful ultra lightweight car, which have had to put some 65 kilos of ballast in just to bring it up to the minimum weight.
That's right.
And Oliver.
Routine service, it looks like, for both drivers. Don't seem to be any driver changes either.
Oliver, like Alexander Sims, just loving this week. It's not his first Le Mans, of course. He did have one with Collis, but this is the first time he's been given a super competitive car. And he just says, I cannot believe how good everything is. So out goes Marcel Fassler, just fuel, nothing else, not even tyres. And he's on the 3rd.
Yeah, slightly faster pit stop there for the number 1 car, which is the Quattro car, the hybrid car, compared to the number 3. And the main reason for that, Mark, is the fuel cell in the hybrid car is a little bit smaller than the
Ultra.
Yeah, the non-hybrid car.
Yep. Yeah. Ultra.
It's been a long day, Jeremy, hasn't it?
It's the Audi R18 e-tron Quattro. Please say it properly every time.
I did the first time.
You're being way too picky tonight, Mark.
But John Jarvis now is then back to 1 lap down, and when they come past the line next time around, it'll probably be Dindo Capello in the lead.
And the car the Brundles are sharing has just been through the gravel. It's actually Luca Ordonez who's gone through the gravel. They were told that was down at post 42. Again, that's the first chicane.
We just turned at 3 minutes 45, which is a jolly good lap time. But I also noticed that Lucas Ordonez, he was off the road actually just before we went back to green under the caution. I think he'd just taken over the wheel and he got a bit carried away. I think it was one of the chicanes with just a glance I saw of the car. As you see the JRM HPD car onto pit lane, and that car now is all the way up into 6th place with Peter Dumbreck at the wheel.
Yeah, he just came in there. I think it was just fuel only there for Peter. I mean, he'll be in the middle of either double or triple. And yeah, going back to what you were saying about going off the road, I mean, the problem going out there, when you go out there with the hot tyres out of the heaters and it's green, you just get on it and keep temp, keep pressures. But when you're out there behind the safety car, especially at the moment when it's cooling off slightly, it's actually really difficult to keep pressure and temps in those tyres, and very easy to look like a complete idiot and slide off at a very slow speed.
It's a very good point, Johnny, and particularly we've seen all this week, both on Wednesday and Thursday in practice and qualifying, several drivers in LMP1 and LMP2 particularly complaining of the fact that they're having difficulty getting any heat into the tyres. And what's also interesting, a couple of the teams were suggesting to me that maybe Michelin had been a bit overly cautious with the tyre compounds they brought here this year. And alongside that, last year, if you remember, Johnny, we had an awful lot of punctures, didn't we?
Yes.
All the way through the week.
Yes.
We've had maybe a couple.
Yes.
We've had a couple that have been caused by incidents during the race, but prior to that, I can actually only remember one. There were probably a few more, but certainly was far, far fewer than last year. So I wonder whether those two facts, the fact that the drivers have more difficulty building any heat in the tyres and the fact there are less punctures, are related. I bet they are.
It's a good point, actually, Jeremy. You might find that the tyre manufacturers are working to make the tyre less susceptible to, obviously, with the downforce cars running over gravel that's being pulled onto the track under downforce, sort of literally shoves it through like a pin tack through the tyre. So it might well be that they've worked harder on carcass control there. But also, don't forget that now we're down to the way we have to use air guns and the number of people in pit stops. It always was going to be that tyre manufacturers are going to go more and more towards longevity with their tyres, because then you lose less time, because obviously pit stops are taking longer when it comes to actually changing tyres.
Yeah, more durability.
So they're harder compounds, harder constructions to just make, as you say, more durability.
We've just gone over the 100 lap mark. In fact, Fassler and Capello have put 101 laps behind them. The rest of the field is 100 lap downwards. We had that 70 minutes behind the safety car. It was an hour and 9 minutes to be exact, from the time the safety car went out until the time the first of them came in. And that means, Jeremy, we're not going to break any records this year for distance, but let's follow this great battle.
Well, yeah, it is a great battle. It's still the Ferrari ahead of the Corvette, but what's interesting is that it's not the same the Corvette that was behind the Ferrari as it was a little while ago. We saw that battle for fifth place, I think it was, or fourth place it was, in GTE, with Jaime Mello in that luxury racing Ferrari car number 59, the red car, leading from Antonio Garcia in car number 73 Corvette. But now, if you look at the Ferrari, the car behind it, the Chevy Corvette, here it is, has got the black shade band. That is car number 74. That is driven by Oliver Gavin, and Oliver Gavin is leading the class. So he's trying to put Jaime Mello in that Ferrari one lap down.
And he's already put his own teammate one lap down. So fantastic job from the 74 crew.
And Jaime Mello has just turned his fastest lap of the race in that car. That's 3 minutes 57.
That's a fantastic lap. He doesn't want to go a lap down, does he? I mean, that's the problem here. You go a lap down and something happens and you're in deep trouble. This is a long place to go a lap down.
Yep, two British Ollies on track at the moment. Then Oliver Gavin just talking about, and Ollie Jarvis, who's in third place at the moment, and the number 4 Audi Ultra. As we just see some of the evening scenes, people get ready for the coming night. And it's going to light up tonight, especially over at the arena. BB King and UB40 are playing. The crowds are going to be flocking over there.
I'll see you later.
Okay, Mark, you'll be on your own, mate. Me and Jeremy are off.
Have a nice time, Mark.
Hang on, we'll do a rendition of Red Wine when we come back.
I've got a P45. Can I use that to get a
red wine with us back?
Exactly, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
no shortage of that around this part of the world.
No, I'd go and see BB King. You can go and see UB40. In fact, I've got him on in the car at the moment.
So let's just do a quick rundown again. It's Marcel Faessler in the lead of the race in car number 1. A minute and 8 seconds the gap back to Dinder Capella in car number 2. Oliver Jarvis in car number 4. The R18 Ultra Audi is 1 lap down in third place. Nicola Prost is 3 laps down to the overall leader in the best place of the Rebellion Lola Toyotas. That car is a couple of minutes ahead of the sister car number 13. And I think Nicola Prost has just made a pit stop right now in P2. Nicola, wow, that was quick. I think actually Jack Nicola has just brought the class leading car number 24 into the pit lane because I looked at it a minute ago, and Nicola was leading, but Heinemeier Hansen was closing rapidly, as we talked about a little while ago. Now it's car 35 is in the lead of P2. That is David Heinemeier Hansen sharing that car with Maxime Martin and Baz Leinders. He has now taken the lead because Nicola has been into the pit lane. Brendan Hartley is absolutely flying in the Murphy Prototypes car number 48. He's within 51 seconds now of the leader in P2. He's just turned that car's best lap at a 3 minutes 41.535. The Starworks car is next up, shown as 1 lap down, car number 44, with Enzo Portolicchio at the wheel. Oliver Gavin leads in GTE Pro in car number 74 by, only about 9 seconds now from Tony Vilander, who's been gradually closing that gap down. Mark Lieb in the number 77 Velvemar Porsche is in 3rd place. 59 car, the Ferrari, we're looking at it right there on the screen. Jaime Mello is almost a lap down in 4th place, and Antonio Garcia in the 2nd of the Corvettes, you can see him behind the first one there, is in 5th place. In GTE Amateur, Pedro Lamy leads in the library competition Corvettes, so Corvettes leading both in GTE Pro and AM. Rui Aguas in car number 61, that is the AF Corsa World Trip car, is in 2nd place. Nicola Armindo in the IMSA Performance car is 3rd. There is the 61 car, 2nd place in GTE AM. In the pit lane, when we come back from the break, we will speak with John Doonan, who is the Director of Motorsports for Mazda Motorsports North America, and talk about his brand new program for next year. Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage of the Le Mans 24 Hours. There is the class-leading LMP2 car. David Heinemeier Hansen has just brought that car into the pit lane in the lead. He'd taken over the lead when his Oak Racing teammate Jacques Nicolet and team owner brought that car in a couple of minutes ago. That moves Brendan Hartley up to 2nd place in that class. So the battles are continuing here, and the sun is almost setting now. It's certainly, we can see the headlights much more clearly. And we'll be joined in the booth by John Doonan, who is the Director of Motorsports for Mazda Motorsports in North America. And John, you've made a very exciting announcement this morning. Tell us about it, please.
Well, we have, Jeremy. It's a pleasure to be back here at Le Mans. There's something special and magical about this place every time you come back. And this year we took the opportunity in complete proper planning with our folks in Japan at Mazda Corporate, our colleagues at Mazda R&D in the U.S., and our partners at Speed Source in Coral Springs, Florida, to announce that we will be providing customer engines for LMP2. We're focused on what Mazda calls SkyActiv technology, and the ACO had a vision, and we are real pleased and grateful for their vision to allow diesel in LMP2. We're bringing a 2.2-liter, 4-cylinder, dual compound turbo engine to the class, and it's completely based on the road car engine, which we'll be bringing to the marketplace in the U.S. here in the coming year.
And I think it's a very exciting announcement. We've seen your alternate fuel sources being used in sports car racing now over the last several years, and this is the first though for LMP2. It's really taken off LMP2 over the last few years. The ACO, I think, recognized there was a problem with what they had, and the rules package they brought in now seems to be absolutely spectacular. We've got a 20-car field here. There's lots more cars being built and being raced. Other guys wanting to come to the Le Mans 24 Hours, and now the door has been opened to this alternate fuel source as well.
That's right, and as you know quite well for our program in the States, Jeremy, it's based around customer support. Certainly at the grassroots level, and we've tried to take that into this top-level sports car racing program as well. So P2 provides manufacturers that perfect opportunity to support customers. Certainly there's other manufacturers who provided customer engines in LMP2. Some of those manufacturers we compete with in the marketplace for car sales on a daily basis. So we're certainly pleased to be able to bring this, to be able to compete with a production-based engine that has our advanced technology in it, which is certainly what the ACO and top-level sports car racing allows manufacturers to do.
We just saw a glance there, by the way, the Toyota that's still being worked on in the pit lane. John, the diesel technology in LMP1, the sky's the limit in terms of the price. There's no, that's not available to any privateer teams. That, of course, is not what you're taking an entirely different approach here.
Absolutely. With the balance of performance in LMP2, with the cost cap, we feel like we can bring a competitive package that will be on a level playing field with the other manufacturers. And that's all I think any of us want, is that opportunity to showcase the reliability of a road car engine at an affordable price, to support the customer teams, and certainly you come to the racetrack to win. And we're here racing, and we do all of our racing programs in the States to prove out our brand and ultimately sell cars. And so that's what we're all about.
John, Mazda, of course, is forever set in stone here at Le Mans. You had this fantastic win in 1991 with the rotary engine. We've obviously, as Eurosport, covered the Rolex 24 Hours for many years. We've seen Sylvain Tremblay and Speed Source win year after year in the GTs with rotaries. Does the rotary engine have any future in your competition plans?
Well, rotary engine development continues in Japan. We continue to run the Renesas rotary engine in the Star Mazda Championship in the U.S. Obviously a fantastic motor, very reliable, thus it makes a great engine for a single-seater development series. We continue to run it in the Grand Am RX-8s, as you pointed out, with good success. We've won a race this year, and we've finished on the podium several times. So, you know, in terms of a road car, they're still making the RX-8 in Japan on the small volume level. We'll continue to develop that engine, you know, behind the scenes. But right now, it's all about Skyactiv, both on the gas and the diesel side. We've announced we're bringing diesel to the North American market in a road car. And so, for the first time, it's really special for us to have an engine prepared in a race car prior to the fact that it's going to be in the marketplace. So the true reason we're doing this.
This engine looks as good as a race car. It's a 2.2 litre 4-cylinder. One question someone asked this morning after the announcement: could there ever be such a thing as a diesel rotary engine?
Well, the good news about the rotary engine is it's very simple, very few moving parts, and I think it'll run on just about anything. So in terms of fuel, so we have done really special things through our R&D group in Japan with hydrogen rotary. So I think hydrogen, petrol, diesel, who knows what the guys are going to work on. We have a very obsessive group of engineers and a very dedicated group of leadership that want Mazda to continue to be that fun-to-drive vehicle, but also certainly of utmost efficiency, and Skyactiv is really the capstone of that.
Yeah, since last year, of course, the Japanese manufacturers and all their offshoots, like your own North American operation, have indicated they're looking at Le Mans with interest again. Honda Europe, just a few weeks ago, said they want to come back to Le Mans next year with a factory effort. Of course, if it's a factory team, it has to be in P1, it can't be in P2, but you are gradually, the Japanese are all coming back here now. It's becoming so important again.
It is, and you know, at the end of the day, all of us are very passionate about motorsport and what we watch on TV, and there's a very loyal following and hardcore racers, certainly in our program in the U.S., which Jeremy's familiar with. But also, I think it's extremely important that, as all the brands should, is to tell this story to the consumer who is considering the purchase of a new vehicle. The power plants, in our case with Skyactiv, new bodies, more rigid chassis, more efficient transmissions, and they have to understand that what we're doing here on the racetrack does have a direct impact on the road car and vice versa.
Just interrupt just for 1 second. We saw the fifth place car in P2 in the pit lane. That's Nelson Panizzi in the Signatech Nissan, and we're watching here this tremendous battle that's going on. The green and white car that got past the Corvette in a brilliant move. That was Brendan Hartley. He is leading the class now in P2. The young Kiwi, just 22 years of age. I remember seeing him race when he raced Formula 4 cars down at the age of 14, for goodness sake. And I could see the talent was right there. This is his first ever sports car race. He's leading it. What a great move that was to get inside the Corvette. But the car he was dicing with was John Martin in the pole-winning car, the ADR Delta Oreca Nissan, almost pretty much identical car. That is running in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th place now in the class, and is trying to get back on the lead lap in LMP2, so that battle there continues. Back there with John Doonan, the Director of Motorsports for Mazda North America. And John, the original plan was to be here at Le Mans this year with Dyson Racing. Chris Dyson wasn't able to completely put together the sort of commercial package, let's put it that way, to come here, but you're planning to bring this diesel engine here next season.
That's the hope. We'll be on track testing at the end of the calendar year. Certainly a place like the 12 Hours of Sebring is a place to really put the engine through a thorough test, and Patrick Dempsey Racing has made plans to be our first customer. So we're very excited about that, and maybe other teams. We've got a lot of interest, certainly, from today's announcement, and we're going to give it a go and see what we can do.
I think it's going to be very exciting things to come here for next year. Stay with us. We're right back on Eurosport. Welcome back to Eurosport. Jeremy Shaw with Johnny Molan. Mark Coleman is about to take a well-earned break. Thanks very much indeed, Mark. No change here in the running order. The sun continues to go down. It's quite yet below the horizon, but the lights on the cars are certainly becoming more noticeable now. A little bit of debris choked up there, and Elvis is here. Everybody is here at Le Mans. There's all sorts of characters out there in all sorts of costumes, and it's just a tremendous event. This is not just a motor race. This is a fantastic event. Hundreds of thousands of people here in total. I think, mind you, around about now, Johnny, a few of them might be in alternate places, perhaps. There's various other concession stands, should we put it, around the racetrack, are there not?
Well, while John Doonan was on there, I was actually just looking across at the Ferris wheel and also that thing that they call boomerang across the pits from us, and just wondering what that would be like. I might go over there and visit that later, because it looks like a pretty wild ride, but nothing beats the sort of ride that these boys are going through at the moment out on that track, and absolutely fantastic watching them through the chicane. The Audis are hooked up through these series of chicanes, Jeremy. I mean, the rear of the car barely moves, and they're taking at least 6 foot of curb, and the car is just absolutely level, maintains platform all the way through. You watch all the others, launches up, launches down, affects the air as they're going through. Those Audis look absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it is fantastic. And this time in Audi, it is just great to see them, as we say that. Whoa, wow, that was interesting. That was number 2 car, Dindo Capello, coming in to make a pit stop there. He left his braking awfully late.
Well, he doesn't need those tyres again. He's obviously changing those tyres.
I hope so, because he
that's called reaching your pit lane speed limit at the last possible moment there. And no, I enjoyed that. That obviously means that either he's I assume that probably means he's getting out. I should imagine the driver change fuel and tyres. Either that, or he's going to have a flat spotted left front.
And I hope he didn't do what Sohail Ayari did in the number 49 car, the P2 car, was running 3rd in class earlier on. When he was coming in to hand over to Pierre Caffer, and he did exactly the same thing, left his braking too late, got pinged for exceeding the speed limit in the pit lane. So the driver took over from him, then had to make a stop and go penalty. So I think he's got to hope that that's not going to happen in this case.
It's Dindo Capello, Jeremy.
It is.
It's Dindo Capello. He doesn't make mistakes like that.
He doesn't make mistakes.
You know what's
like
going to happen now? It's going to say on the bottom of the screen, car number 2 done. 2 minutes stop and go penalty.
And I think if it does, I think he's probably due to stay in the car. I don't think he's about ready to change.
Well, I mean, to be honest, that was a small lock-up, a little bit of smoke.
What? It was
no, barely saw any smoke whatsoever.
Looked up late.
I have to actually give a big shout out to, I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. My missus has told me off for saying the word arse before the watershed on television. She's saying she's going to get me one of those inflatable rubber rings for the seat next time. And my daughter and my son, Reese and Rainey, are watching at home. So hello kids. And I'm amazed, actually, as I look at you looking at Twitter there, Jeremy, how many people are actually getting a hold of me on Twitter. All this modern technology keeps you concentrated as we're sitting here in this lovely box commentating.
That's right. I'm a newbie on Twitter and still trying to figure it out, I must admit. We've got
I noticed.
Yeah, right. I've got a few little notes here, though. We've got one from Graham McFarland. Anyone know what these little blue lights in the windscreens of some of the GT cars are?
Yeah, I got that one as well on my Twitter. I think, well, I know it's to do with identification. Because obviously, as soon as it gets dark, if you've got a number of cars coming into the pit lane at the same time, which can happen, obviously, because GT cars are on the same lap, are going to probably pit on the same lap. It's difficult to tell sometimes when they're coming down the pit lane, and all you can see is headlights, whether it's your car or somebody else's car, and also for the pit board as well. When you're putting the pit board out, it's helpful to actually have identification. The Ferraris have actually got these lights that go right up. If you look at the AF Corsa car there, number 71, has got like a blue line of lights all across the top of the window, of the side window, and the 51 car has got the green lights. So it's just a form of identification to help the teams sort of work out the number of different Ferraris and Porsches that are out there, because it's difficult to tell them apart.
Also, Ben Marshall asked, how much can the teams modify the GT cars from the factory car? I see they can put a body kit, but what else? Well, in actual fact, Ben, they can do just about everything to those cars. There's very little that is production based on these GTE cars.
Yeah, you say that, and you're right, Jeremy. There's an awful lot you can do, obviously, within the regulations of suspension geometry and all the rest of it. But one thing that you have to be wary of, and when you have Porsche or factory or well, in the Corvette's case, it's the factory teams, but certainly if you're running a privateer car of Porsche or Ferrari, you're not actually allowed, if you've got support from the factory, to change too much. They don't like you doing too many modifications to the cars. They like to control that themselves and work the development through their own factory teams and then pass it down to the customers.
Well, that's a good point, because I mean, all the parts are actually homologated. They have to actually go through the ACO and all the FIA to be what's called homologated. So the manufacturer tells the organisers exactly what they're going to build, and they have to keep to those specifications. So, but having said that, from the standard car, all the body panels are different. A lot of carbon fibre.
Oh gosh, yeah, from a road car, you're exactly right.
All the electronic systems are they're vastly developed. A road car Ferrari costs what? How much did your one cost? Your 458?
Oh, about 150.
Yeah.
Which one, the yellow one or the red one?
Well, you buy one of these race cars and it's a little bit more than that. So they are very, very sophisticated. All sorts of electronic systems on these cars.
They're about 550 euros.
Yeah, exactly.
They set you back €500,000 plus euros. Yep. They're whack.
They are indeed, but they are very, very sophisticated pieces of machinery these days. And yeah, there's all sorts of great technology. It's interesting actually, on the Corvette team, they and several other teams now have, in addition to the rear view mirrors, they also have an LED readout. They have a camera behind pointing rearward. And the Corvette team, they were working a couple of years ago on a kind of a laser system whereby it would tell the driver how far a car was behind it. As it was coming up, it would real-time measure the distance of the pursuing car.
Yeah.
And when it got within a prescribed distance,
well, you're going to have a beeping sequence, was it?
A warning.
The faster the beeps get.
Basically,
so when it goes into a continuous noise, it means that basically the Audi's just about to hit you.
Get out of the way.
That would have worked earlier on for poor Anthony, wouldn't it?
In the same way as on the steering wheel, they have a sort of the idiot lights on the dash to tell you when to shift gear. When you get closer to the optimum place to shift
idiot
gear.
Lights, Jeremy. That's a very sophisticated light. I need a light to tell me when to pull the right-hand paddles.
So do I. I remember that I was very fortunate to drive various champ cars back 10-15 years ago, and one of the cars I drove was with Walker Racing, and those things rev so fast.
Oh, they rev up quick, don't they?
Oh boy, they spool up quickly, and by the time it's time to shift gear, and I said, boy, I'm having a hard time, I'm not using it, and they said, no worries, we'll put a shift light on there for you. And so they wired up this thing, and they put a little light in my helmet. And this was a long time ago. It's relatively new technology there, and seriously impressive. But now they have lights that come up across the dashboard on most racing cars these days, and they tell you when to shift gear.
Well, it's all paddle shift now in almost anything. Even in GT cars, it's going that way, and it makes it.
Still the shift.
Oh no, absolutely. But it just shows you. I mean, we're showing our age now, Jeremy. But when I started, it was all H pattern, and you actually had to heel and toe, and it was plenty of ways you could blow the engine up. Nowadays you can sort of be pulling for a downshift, 18 times going into your braking zone, and you still can't blow the engine up. So it's become easier in that way to not cause a critical engine failure through driver error.
It has, but the distance system they're working on the Corvette. So I was asking Jordan Taylor about that over the weekend, and they're not using it. And I didn't get a chance to ask the big chaps, the technical bosses at Corvette Racing, why they haven't continued. I think they probably are continuing to develop it, but it's not in the race cars here at Le Mans.
I just think that from a driver's point of view, I think if you become experienced here as well, as most of the drivers in the Corvette team are incredibly experienced here, then you're actually in a situation where that would just be another distraction. And to be honest, you can judge most of it. It's difficult occasionally, but most of the time you can judge it just by using your mirrors, and a rearward facing camera at night with the lights you might as well just not even bother looking at it.
Yeah, because that's just
it whites out, and there's no.
But particularly when the prototypes of cars are coming up behind it, they flash their lights. It's this sort of strobe effect on the lights.
Yeah, they live on the old. The thing is that you push,
and the thing is that how far back they are when they do it, because sometimes they do it from a long way back, and the closing speeds are so immense that it's difficult to judge exactly how far.
It is very difficult.
The car is behind you.
And also the thing is with the prototypes quite often is you press the button once and it actually flashes maybe 10-12 times, even though you're not actually pressing the button all the time.
There is our class leader in LMP2 changing this. Looks like they were changing the steering wheel there.
It looks like Warren Hughes in the car now, does it? Is that Warren Hughes?
It did look like his helmet, didn't it? It's Brendan Hartley brought that car in.
They're doing a tyre change, so yeah, drove very well. So I'm assuming now they've done a driver change, tyres have gone on.
And away. So, if you can hear anything, an interview in French, then I apologise, because we've certainly got no note of it here, but I'm hearing something in my ears. But this car is now back in the lead of LMP2. It is still Jacques Nicolet, the team owner at Oak Racing, back in that number 24 Morgan Judd. That has been getting extremely good fuel consumption through this race. It lasted a whole lap longer than everybody else, all the other leaders in P2 at the first round of pit stops. So great fuel economy from that Judd engine. They lead the class. Maxime Martin is only about 7 seconds behind, so I'm sure if we hold this angle for a little while, Maxime Martin is closing rapidly in car number 35. Martin has taken over from David Heinemeier Hansson at the last round of pit stops, and Brendan Hartley is shown still at the wheel of that car in the coming at number 48, the Murphy Prototypes car, third in P2.
I mean, David Heinemeier Hansson, actually, I mean, the thing about LMP2, Jeremy, is that obviously your weakest link, you're as strong as your weakest link, and David Heinemeier Hansson is not a weak link in that situation. I mean, he may not be a professional, but he drove with us in the Lotus Evora last year with myself and James Rossiter, and did a fantastic job given his level of experience. So, very, very strong car. Yeah, very impressive is Heinemeier Hansson. A couple of years ago, he was driving GT4 Porsche Caymans, and here he is in a P2 car. You're listening to Eurosport, watching Eurosport. We will be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Eurosport. Jeremy Shaw with Johnny Molan. Nothing has changed at the front of the field. 110 laps completed now by Marcel Faessler, who leads the race in the Audi R18 e-tron Quattro, car number 1. Teammate and the sister car of Dindo Capello, car number 2, in second place, about 2 minutes now and 5 seconds behind. Oliver Jarvis is third place in car number 4, the R18 Ultra, the non-hybrid version of that car, shown as 1 lap down. And then in 4th place in LMP1, the best place off the petrol engine cars, 3 laps down on the overall leader, Nicolas Prost. They'd take that result right now, wouldn't they, Jeremy?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you right now, if you were to offer them 4th. Having said that, maybe they're thinking they might sneak an overall podium. That would be awesome. I mean, when it starts falling apart, it doesn't half fall apart. I'm just looking down the scoring and timing and scoring for the Toyota, and they're down still in the pits. The number 7 one with Nakajima still listed in the car, in the pits in 32nd position. And I tell you what, when it starts falling apart, it suddenly doesn't half go here at Le Mans. Yeah. They've gone from being sort of 2nd or 3rd, or I think they were 3rd, weren't they, to 32nd in the space of about 45 minutes.
And we watch you on the screen now, that was Maxime Martin in the purple and black car. He's just taken the lead of the class in LMP2 from Jacques Nicolet. So the number 35 car leads in P2, 7th place overall. And what I was going to say, Nicolas Prost is 4th, but Peter Dumbreck driving for the JRM Motorsports team. They had all sorts of problems in practice and qualifying, really weren't happy with the handling of that car at all. But Dumbreck is now up into 5th place, 4 laps behind the leader. He's shown right now, I think he's only 3 laps behind actually, but he's within a couple of minutes or so of Nicolas Prost, and considering the fact that they had, like I say, all sorts of problems. They mainly was getting any heat into the tyres on that car. We've heard several drivers complain of that, but just the balance wasn't right. That team doesn't have a lot of experience with that car. Peter Dumbreck doesn't either. Karun Chandhok, who shares that car along with David Brabham, is the 3rd driver. David Brabham, of course, has a lot of experience in these sorts of cars, but David was not here at the test day a couple of weeks ago, so that was a big, major problem for that team to overcome, Johnny Molan.
Absolutely, and Peter at the moment doing a fantastic job. He took 5 seconds in that last lap out of the number 12 Rebellion Lola of Nicolas Prost, who's in 4th place, so just ahead of him, and just in the first sector alone, he's taken out another 1.4 seconds on this lap, so Peter Dumbreck flying at the moment and really eating into that gap between him and the number 12 Rebellion Lola. So there's a real little fight within a fight going on amongst the petrol cars now, 4th, 5th and 6th, and it'd be interesting to see. They're all, I think, pretty much on the same lap. It ebbs and flows a little bit, but it'd be interesting to see how that all pans out sort of 7 or 8 hours from now.
Indeed so, and Harold Prematt, he's only 28 seconds behind Peter Dumbreck in the car number 13, the 2nd of the Rebellion Lola Toyotas. So all 3 of those cars within 3 minutes or so, I think. So that battle very much still underway. Those are the top 3 petrol-engined cars in LMP1 in this race. As we'll see, the number 3 car, Marc Genet, makes another pit stop. That car, of course, lost 8 laps. It lost after the incident involving Romain Dumas out on the Mulsanne, one of the chicanes.
I wasn't actually in here when that happened. And what did I mean, to me it looked very straight, almost like his steering locked solid and went straight. I mean, I know it can't have been that, but it looked very weird.
It did look weird, didn't it? I mean, he came up very quickly onto a GTE car.
It was the Flying Lizard car, wasn't it? But there was no contact. He came in, he looked like he went to take a wider line to get a slingshot and then got on some gravel or something and never turned in. But it was such a slow speed, and at this stage in the race, the marbles there, they're not great, but I would have thought they're not bad enough for that. But obviously,
well,
you know, that's
funny enough, I'd spoken just before that happened. I'd been speaking to Sebastian Buemi, who'd just got out of a quadruple stint in one of the Toyotas, and I was asking him exactly. Well, actually, I was watching the incident with him and Kazuki Nakajima actually in the Toyota garage when it happened. And well, Kazuki hadn't been in the car at that stage, but Sebastian had, and he said, look, as soon as you get offline through the chicanes, it is really, really slippery.
Right, yeah.
And, you know, all this part of the racetrack has been resurfaced since last year.
Yes.
It's a lot smoother in the braking areas, and it's a lot grippier too, and particularly once rubber's been laid down during the race, by that time of the evening, 8 o'clock in the evening, it was really getting grippy through there. But they said once you get offline, boy, it is treacherous. What a wonderful view there.
Coming down the back straight. You don't realise actually how much there's sort of little crests, do you, coming down back into that's the second chicane down the Mulsanne straight. And yeah, you're exactly right. And obviously by resurfacing the chicanes, they've generated more grip, which means obviously you're going to get more rubber rolling off the tyre, which means you're going to get obviously more marbles on the edge offline. So maybe that, well, it must have been what happened, but it looked, didn't it, like such a slow speed, weird mistake, as we see the number 1 leading Audi of Marcel Fassler in the pits. They're popping in another drinks bottle for him, clean the windshield. There's no tear off there going on. Obviously he's been leading out on his own. He hasn't got any real dirt on his windshield, and fuel only, and off he goes.
And if you heard this earlier on, I apologise, but somebody sent in a note yesterday asking, they noticed on one of the onboard shots of the Audis that there were 2 bottles in there. There was a blue one and a red one, and what are they? And I explained that one of them is a drinks bottle, and the other one is the bottle for the replenishing the wiper fluid, the windscreen wiper fluid. And I was talking to Ralph Juttner about it, and he said, yeah, the drivers, you might have pistol amuse you probably, Johnny, the drivers complained that, you know, do you guys mix up the bottles sometimes, put the wrong fluid in the wrong bottle, because that the drinks really
taste disgusting.
Taste foul, apparently.
I've had some horrible drinks in drink bottles, I must admit, especially when the team dig a drinks bottle out of the back of the truck that's been in there since the previous season. Don't bother, rinse it out with a bit of cold water, stick it in the car. The first lug you take, trust me, is not very nice.
The life of a professional racing driver.
We've got it hard, Jeremy. We have got it seriously hard, mate.
Tell you what, we've got a great battle. That P2 battle, LMP2 battle that we talked about, well, we've been talking about all week. It is really heating up now. We've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars on the lead lap, 7 cars on the lead lap, I think it is actually, all within 3 minutes and 16 seconds. Car number 35 leads, that is Maxime Martin. Car number 24, the sister Oak Racing in Morgan, albeit the one with the Judd engine as opposed to the Nissan in the number 35 car. Jacques Nicolet in 2nd place. Brendan Hartley is still flying in 3rd place. And then Enzo Potalico in the Starbucks car is in 4th, followed by John Martin in the ADR Delta car. That is back on the lead lap, as is Nelson Pansutici in car number 26 for the Signatech Nissan team. All of those cars on the lead lap, as indeed it actually is Sohail Ayari in the number 49 Pecan Racing Lola Judd. So a tremendous battle going on there, exactly as we thought. And just 1 lap down is Jordan Trisson in the number 23 car, followed by Sam Hancock and Jelmer Berman, the 4 Status Grand Prix. So a whole bunch of cars very, very much in contention. Shinji Mikano, Luis Diaz for level 5 motorsports. So we've got top 10 cars separated by less than a lap.
It's a great battle here going on in every class, isn't it, Jeremy?
We're going to go off to the 24 Hours of Le Mans right now, and we'll be back after that, so rejoin us on Euros.